Here is Amadou Gallo Fall. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Yes. Then we have Morad Farid, and then probably many of you know Ingrid Silva. Amadou is the president of the Basketball African League. Morad is the founder of FC Mother, and Ingrid is a professional ballet dancer. She's also an activist, a mother, a writer, and an athlete. So we want to answer the question that you see up there. Can investing in sports improve socio-economic progress, or can bring progress? You bet it can. So ladies first, Ingrid. I know that you found ballet through a social program. So tell us about the work you do, bringing progress to your community when you are not on stage.
Yeah, so I am really excited to be here today. I actually opened the event, so that was me performing, and I'm back now. I believe the arts is very transformative and change lives. I'm also Brazilian from Rio. I started a social project in Mangueira, Vila Olímpica, and I never dreamed to be a ballet dancer. One of my neighbors mentioned to coming to dance, and my mother enrolled me in it. I believe I had the talent for it, and as we are saying, opportunity. And I have been performing with Dance State of Harlem in New York for the past 16 years. And I love my career, and I see the transformation that sports, dance, arts, and community engagements can do in life.
Wonderful. Let me just move now to Morad. Morad used to be a professional football player in his national team, Palestine.
Yep.
And now he's a health entrepreneur working in the United States. As I said at the beginning, he directs FC Mother, with a very innovative approach. So, Morad, explain to us what is FC Mother and how your model works?
Thank you. What a pleasure to be here as well. We've been working in public health for the last 15 years, primarily on maternal health the last 10 years. And so we set up a lab that we founded alongside Harvard and a lot of other institutions, because maternal health is the most important health problem that nobody knows about. And what we did was try to raise the public consciousness about understanding the importance of mothers and maternal health. And so we measured for the first time in our lab the true value of a healthy pregnancy. And the results were staggering, because if you have a healthy pregnancy, it actually prevents chronic disease later in life. And the number is $27 trillion a year that are lost in life years because of poor maternal health. And so to fix it, we passed policy in the US. We opened free maternal centers in the US. But it wasn't until we realized that sport was the gateway and the link that we were able to make progress. So FC Mother takes all of our work in the lab and it unites it with football for the first time.
How does it do it?
So football is the largest family in the world. It's 5 billion people. It's 4,500 football clubs. And it's the largest social infrastructure platform. And so we're partnered with the Ballet Foundation here in Brazil, and we're setting up a league that will gamify maternal health outcomes. So we're using football to distribute maternal health programs. We're keeping score, season to season, of outcomes, so there's goals and assists. And we're going to tap into the power of sports and the competitive nature of clubs who are rivals to compete now on a different level. So the goal is to heal mothers.
Of course.
And
with the help of sports.
And for the love of sports, that's right.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'll do a follow-up question after Amadou. Amadou, you are in charge of the Basketball Africa League, and this is a league that started recently, 4 years ago. So tell us about it. I know you have a new champion. Angola is the new champion in Africa. So tell us about your experience in these recent years.
Yes, so thank you, and it's great to be here. We launched our league in the middle of the pandemic in 2021. The Basketball Africa League is a partnership between the NBA and FIBA, which is the global governing body For basketball, yes, we recently, on June 1st, crowned our 4th champion, Petro Atletico de Luanda. But in 4 years, we've covered a lot of ground, and in terms of just going from a single site, launching in the middle of the pandemic in a bubble, to now playing in 4 countries and 4 iconic cities in Africa. We started in Pretoria in South Africa, then we went to Cairo in Egypt, then Dakar, Senegal. We have 12 teams from 12 countries. We have them in 3 conferences, and the top 2 teams from each conference qualified for the finals and the playoffs and finals in Kigali, Rwanda. So the league's growing, just if you can judge by the number of fans that from year 1 to this year, where we had over 120,000 fans into our arenas across those 4 cities. This league is meant to be an economic growth engine across the continent. We are using the transformative power of sport, not just to empower youth and also to grow communities, but now to drive economies, boost tourism. In Kigali, Rwanda, where we play, this is where we had our bubble in 2021. The finals have become a rendezvous. People are traveling from all across Africa and traveling from all around the world to come to watch these great, talented young players from Africa and across the world. The games are broadcasted in 214 countries around the world.
You just said you started in the middle of the pandemic. How did you overcome those challenges? I mean, beginning a league in the middle of the pandemic.
Well, we are, again, really relying on the NBA's best-in-class expertise in terms of operating a professional basketball league. So in the same year, the NBA finished its season in a bubble in Orlando, the same for the G League and the WNBA. So we used the same protocol. We were just very encouraged to be able to operate at the same level on the African continent. I think this was a big confidence booster in terms of really the huge ambitions that we can have for this league to become one of the best professional basketball league in the world in years to come, when you think of the talent we have on the African continent.
Well, Ingrid, you're the founder of PodHer and Blacks in Ballet. And obviously, all of us and many of you are convinced that working in these programs, can bring these communities out of poverty. So tell us a little bit about your work, and how can these programs help prevent wasting talents in these underprivileged communities?
Yeah, I believe that knowledge is power, and once you have knowledge, you are equipped to be better further in your dreams, in your accomplishments, in everything you do in your life. I founded PodHer after seeing so many women with a lot of dreams, but at least they didn't have an opportunity or a voice to be heard. It's not about thinking, we already have our voice. We want to be heard, and we want opportunities. So I created that organization to connect women globally, all over the world. We have a lot of events in New York, and our networking is very broad. About PodHer, I created through Black Lives Matter movement. After many years as a dancer, when I meet someone new, I always say, hey, I'm a ballet dancer. And someone says, what, a ballet dancer? And I was like, we have to change that.
So the bias.
Yeah, exactly, the bias. Which is really important. People are used to seeing ballet and think it's one thing. But ballet, classical ballet or arts, it's so many other things. And I also believe that dance is for everyone. It's different shapes, different bodies, different hair, different skin color tones. And I think with Blacks in Ballet, what we created is on Instagram, we created a library. And you can go there and you can find dancers from all over the world. And that kind of changed people's mind. Once you go to theaters, you see arts and you see different people and diversity. I always think that the stage should reflect what the world is. We are not the same, and we don't look like, and we are diverse.
Wonderful. And you have some shoes in the Smithsonian Museum. Tell us about it, because that's also unique. I mean, it sounds unique, but it's like, hello, it was about time.
Yeah, at Dance Theater of Harlem, Arthur Mitchell founded in 1969 in New York. I joined the company in 2008, and at our ballet company, our point shoes and tights match our skin color tone. People usually associate the pink color to your costume, but back then when we created ballet, it's associated by your skin tone. So at Dance Theater of Harlem, for the past 11 years of my life, I painted my point shoes to match my skin tone. Because at first, we didn't have any point shoes that match my skin color. And as a small person who are very driven and very passionate about what I do, and I invest a lot in this, I spoke to a company who makes point shoes, and I convinced them to make their first skin color point shoes. And as a young person, this is very hard to talk to people into business, but I also believe that the future, it's young people, it's our kids. We have to teach them how to fight and look for a better future. And only in 2019, those point shoes came alive, and it's also a meaning of fulfillment, you know, as a person who is part and fully part and diversity into the arts. In 2020, the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. Asked to have my point shoes as part of their archive. And as a Brazilian native, I am very proud to represent my country and have my point shoes there as part of history.
Good for you. That deserves a round of applause. Good for you. Congratulations, Ingrid. Okay, Morad, mothers' health and well-being. Tell us about the data. I mean, how big of a problem is this? Why do we have to care about mothers' health?
Yeah, so there was the cover of Time magazine. This was about 15 years ago, and it had a pregnant woman right on the cover. And I'll never forget it. It was the clearest thing. It said how 9 months in the womb shape the rest of your life. The new science of the origins of disease. And so for the last 40 years, there's about 1,000 scientists working on chronic disease mapped back to the prenatal period. And there's a huge amount of data that's been published that correlates everything from heart disease, cancer, arthritis, anything you could think of later in life mapped back to mom being taken care of. And so when you actually map it, it's the largest issue. It's about 200 million life years are lost every year. On preterm birth alone, it's about $10 trillion. And the problem is we can fix it. We know how to take better care of mothers. We've already solved that as humanity. It's not new.
And this is prenatal?
It's prenatal care. It's midwifery. It's birth workers, doulas. It's mental health support. It's stress reduction. It's a community model. There's nothing new about it. What's strange is that nobody's really figured out the social vehicle because it's broken at the social level. And so that's really what our model is about. We're not inventing anything. But what we are doing is creating a new category that merges life science and biotech with sports. And we call that healing sports or H sports. And motherhood is the highest and best use of our time because if you heal a mother, you heal a community. Of course,
of course. Yeah. And then you get funding from the soccer teams and leagues, and then soccer fans can do volunteering with your program?
That's right, yeah. It's a whole game that we've created. Okay. So it includes fans, it includes family and friends, it includes the club, and of course, all of it is surrounding mother. Okay. And we hire and train midwives and community health workers to support mothers. Not a lot of pregnancies, unfortunately, have the right support. So it's a very practical, but it's a gamified version of maternal health, with rewards and economic incentives.
And can that model be expanded to another categories?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is setting up a model that works, that can be used by all public health, because public health is trapped in the same place. Everybody knows what to do, nobody knows how to distribute it. And so we're converting it into, translating it into sporting language, because everybody understands sports.
Of course, of course. Amadou, everybody understands sports, and obviously you've seen the impact, the social impact the League in Africa is having through youth development programs, through events. I mean, how is the League and its social work impacting and inspiring communities throughout Africa?
Well, there's a long history in terms of just how we got here. So we, the NBA, launched a program called Basketball Without Borders. This is back in 2003. And in partnership with FIBA, this was the basketball development program and social engagement program. We, not only brought 100 young people from across Africa to South Africa, we moved it later, we've hosted it in Angola, in Senegal, and in Egypt. But this program and the activities we were doing there, going into communities, taking role models, inspiring young people, not just to play the game, but also to grow up with the values of sport, which really teaches them all the right values that you want to make better citizens, better members of their communities. That's what ultimately led to now creating a professional league after we opened the office in 2010, and then 2020 we were set to open to launch the league, but then the pandemic hit. We pushed it for a year. We have a lot of programs that we are running that are really geared towards being inclusive, inspiring young people about doing the right things, but also creating access to jobs in the sports industry. We have programs that are training youth. We have also a program called BAL for Her, although our league right now is a men's league only, but we want to make sure that we show that the industry is accessible to women and girls. So we have a lot of programs designed specifically to do exactly that. So in terms of our first mission when we opened the NBA office in South Africa in 2020, it was about making the game of basketball accessible to young boys and girls. Because you have an issue with the lack of infrastructure, we endeavored to partner with like-minded organizations to build courts, to train local coaches, but it's really using sports as a tool to empower young people. That's what we continue to do.
And I have a few minutes just for a last message from each of you. How can we convey the message not only to private companies, but to governments, to sponsor, to support social, sports, arts, music, dance, to, use them as a tool for social development? What will be your message? And the same question for each of you.
Our first priority was to engage with governments and all the stakeholders to really try to shine a light in the opportunity we had in Africa to build an incredible industry and an economic growth engine using sports. Africa is probably the greatest exporter of talent in all the leagues, in all sports across the world. Here we wanted to talk about working with government to build the infrastructure, to bring the expertise locally, and then this talent that is going to be developed, a big part of it can stay on the continent, and you create an entertainment property that the rest of the world will consume.
Morad.
Yeah, I would say for us it's about proving through data, because generating life years back to humanity is very valuable. And being able to do that consistently through a new system that doesn't really work around traditional healthcare, but works instead through social infrastructure. And when that works, we're looking at generating up to $12 trillion within 10 years back to humanity in life years. And I think that kind of evidence shares gets a lot of people's attention.
Ingrid, what is your take on it?
Well, I believe that across the globe we have many companies that can invest in education. This is something that will definitely change the future. We often don't think about it because it's our primary thing. And I think after education opportunities, including any kinds of sports, arts, music, that builds individuals. And it's really important to believe in those individuals and change these communities. Sometimes we have small dreams that can become something bigger than that and larger than that. And I believe that each one of us represents something larger than ourselves in our communities, and we can make this change.
Of course, education in values through sports, music, arts, dance. Thank you so much. We are out of time, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming.